The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95, and a very warm welcome back onto the Majlis. Hope that was a bit of a refreshing news and gets you all charged up for the world of sports that we'll be discussing later on with the Euro 2020. Now, this has been going on for a while, the European Union's investigation into Google's vast advertising business, claiming that the company may have disadvantaged their rival services, making it harder for brands to reach consumers and for publishers to fund their content. We're used to Googling everything. We're used to the top ads there, and we just continue to ignore it. But on a macro level, especially in the EU region, they're not very pleased about it.
Yeah, precisely. And this investigation is, in fact, part of a larger push by European authorities to try and clamp down on the world's most powerful tech companies. So it's not just Google here. We've got Amazon, Apple, and Facebook also being the subject of antitrust actions by the EU. And currently, the European Union is reportedly drafting new antitrust and digital service laws to further tighten the power of big tech. So what is happening with Google in particular? Well, online advertising has helped it become one of the world's most valuable and powerful companies, with its parent company, Alphabet, earning a net profit of $40 billion last year. But publishers such as News Corp, as well as rival digital ad firms, have always been complaining that Google's dominance makes it incredibly hard to attract advertising revenue from their websites and for competitors to gain ground. The European Commission, which is the EU's executive body, said the investigation is focused on the display advertising market, which is worth an estimated $24 billion in Europe, and where Google offers a number of services both to advertisers and publishers as well. The company collects data to target advertising, sells ad space on websites across the net, and offers services that work as an intermediary between advertisers and publishers.
Yeah, well, Google has been looking at a lot of their ad tech services for sure, but the EU investigation will focus on a number of areas of concern, including the obligation to use its services to purchase or even serve ads on Google or YouTube. A level playing field is of the essence for everyone in this supply chain. Well, according to Google, competition in online advertising has made ads more affordable, reduced ad tech fees, and created more options for publishers and advertisers. The company also says that publishers keep about 70% of the revenue when using its products, and that the biggest advertisers use 4 or more platforms to buy the ads. So that is a bit of a defense from Google's side that that they're not a massive revenue-making force. They don't unfairly charge their consumers or buyers. But I don't think EU is going to be buying into that.
Yeah.
They'll be very, very... Google is an American firm, isn't it?
Yes.
There we go. Good old EU.
Good old EU. Yeah, that's what they're doing. Now, we'll get into what they're saying precisely. This investigation reportedly could take a very, very long time. These things typically drag on for years, in fact. But if found guilty, then Google could face fines of up to 10% of its global revenue, and demands that it changes its business practices would also be on the table here. So what are EU authorities alleging? Well, the Commission is investigating ways that Google is leveraging its power in the advertising technology market in order to limit competition, including, quote, forcing advertisers to use Google services to buy display advertising on YouTube. Investigators said they would also examine a new Google policy for its Chrome browser, which is intended to replace those tracking cookies placed on websites with a new system that is created by Google itself. In Germany, antitrust regulators also announced an investigation of Google's data processing practices. Google has also been targeted by competition authorities in Britain, in Australia, France, Turkey, Russia, and various jurisdictions. And not just around the world, but also within its own soil. In the United States, Google is battling a Justice Department lawsuit that accused Google of illegally protecting its dominance in online search and advertising Authorities said Google unfairly paid for deals with companies like Apple to make Google the iPhone's default search engine. They said that impeded competition by using those exclusive contracts and agreements with big customers like Apple. Parallel cases have also been brought by attorney generals in dozens of states as well. So the heat is really coming in from all directions.
I'm trying to find their competitors in the EU. Now, according to stats, Google was 90% of the world's users, European users used Google for their searches, 98% in Spain. And looking at the couple of search engines that are going to rival or were aiming to rival from EU, and I'm sure they would not be touched by the EU Regulatory Committee at all, is Algolia, originally from France, as a search as a service platform, enabling companies to quickly and seamlessly implement search within their websites and mobile applications. Another one is Swiss Cows, from Switzerland. It was launched in 2014 as the answer engine, first intelligent answer engine. Then another one that is quite dominant as well in France is privacy-oriented search engine, Quant. Okay, and then you have Mojic, also based in Brighton, and then we have Ecosia. Berlin-based eco-friendly search engine was founded in 2009. And imagine if someone in a conversation said, "Yeah, you can Mojic it." Or you can quant it.
Doesn't work.
No, Swiss Cows it.
Swiss Cows it.
Algolia it. Well, Google it is just it's a roll of the tongue, isn't it? Well, there is going to be continued investigation, and no one really likes the dominant player for sure. And I'm sure there'll be lots more of scrutiny that Google is to face over the coming few years in this part of the block.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as search engines, it's entirely unrivaled, as you had stated. In fact, the second largest search engine competition to Google is Yahoo, which has less than 2.3% market share compared to Google's 94%. So that really says it all. Google does have some competition, though, in the realm of entertainment, for example. As you know, Google acquired YouTube back in 2006. So it's got a pretty large chunk on the online entertainment space, but it is competing with the streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Vimeo, Walt Disney Company, and other online streamers. And depending on how you see it, it might as well be competing with social media outlets like Instagram and Twitter for your time as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this lawsuit goes, but there's no denying that authorities all the world over see Google as a major, major threat.
I'm going to start using Swiss Cows now. That is my favorite because I just love the logo, love the name. Gone are the days of Google. I'm just going to install a Swiss Cows app on my phone as well. And exciting times indeed. Well, stay with us in the morning Majlis. We will be continuing our discussions here on the program. And if you would like to know more about the discussions that we've been having here on the morning Majlis, you can Swiss Cow the morning Majlis podcast, and we'll be back again. And you can subscribe to them as well. Stay tuned. This is the morning Majlis, only on Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Yes, the Sharjah Charity International has announced the establishment of the Sharjah Charity Hospital project in Bangladesh. A hospital, the project is worth 566,000 dirhams and is part of Sharjah International or Sharjah Charity International's work and projects in developing countries. So, according to the director of Sharjah Charity International's projects department, Mohammed Azari, he said in implementations of the directives of the board of directors, it is planned to establish the Sharjah Charity Hospital in Bangladesh. It's going to sit on an area of 342 square meters. It will include an emergency department, a general examination sector, a surgeries department, an ultrasound and x-rays department, as well as a pharmacy. So it's a whole hospital being built, and it's being done in coordination with the UAE Embassy through the Sharjah Charity International's office in Bangladesh.
Now, incredible work by the Sharjah Charity International, and the director of SCI explained that the project comes as a continuation of their efforts to provide healthcare for patients in remote areas where medical centers are rare, and in translation of the directives, or following the directives of His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Mohammed Al Qasimi, Supreme Council member and ruler of Sharjah, to implement such charitable work to improve healthcare through a package of projects and initiatives aimed at caring for the patients and reconstructing areas that lack health facilities, noting that the hospital also serves the residents of the neighboring villages as well.
Absolutely incredible stuff they've been doing around the world, and in line with some of the discussions they've had just the other day in terms of refugee aid. In fact, recently we had the Sharjah International Award for Refugee Advocacy and shed light on the plight of refugees around the world and displaced people and what can be done in terms of concrete projects to aid them. And that's something that Sharjah Charity International is committed to doing, and also opens up channels for people themselves to donate and have free rein as to where their money's going as well.
Yep, and this hospital is located in one of the districts of Chittagong area of Bangladesh, a very important area as well for Bangladesh, being a port town, and it does require a lot of healthcare support for sure, and it is. We've also seen the first and largest private general hospital in the UAE also looking at Zahra Hospital, also continuing their support over there. So exciting times indeed. And looking at the medical care the Sharjah Charity International provides here in the Emirate of Sharjah, not many people know that we have a dedicated Sharjah Charity International's clinic for dialysis, and it's an expensive treatment, and they have over 30 beneficiaries who do regular dialysis treatment, all funded by the SCI for their beneficiaries, and that is located right opposite the building of the Sharjah Charity International, and it is a real true marvel when you go over there and you see the wonderful work that the authority is doing. And during the holy month of Ramadan, we also went down to the Sharjah Charity International, Gabby and myself, and tried to gauge and try to look at what they do as an operation as well. They've got a fantastic team over there, and they're a very, very busy force at the Sharjah Charity International, and the humanitarian work that they do is exceptional and fantastic, and we're really, really proud of what they keep on achieving on a daily basis. So kudos to the team at the Sharjah Charity International.
Absolutely. Hats off to you, and text us at 4215 to join the discussions here on the Morning Majlis. We've got a lot of stories lined up this morning. Over the next hour, we'll be talking about what is happening around the world in terms of vaccine efforts as well. Angela Merkel from Germany notably getting her vaccines mixed, in fact, with pretty much dosing on Moderna and Oxford AstraZeneca. So is that where we're heading? Vaccine cocktails, is that going to provide more protection? Stay tuned for that discussion and much more right here on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95, and a very warm welcome back onto the program. Now, the big story is our very own guinea pig for the mixing of vaccines is the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel. She received a dose of Moderna as a second shot of the COVID-19 vaccine after having had AstraZeneca as a first, which is interesting to see, because a lot of people tell you that you can complete the doses of the vaccine of the one manufacturer, and then you can, after a few months, take the second dose of another vaccine, and then that kind of pushes up your immune response system, which we talked about yesterday, and you can catch that as a podcast. But this time, it's one dose of Moderna, and the second Moderna as a second dose, and the AstraZeneca as well. Experts believe that mixing of dosings could be a good idea, but it is too early to be sure. But Merkel will also be stepping down as a leader this year after serving for 16 years. And I think all eyes will be on her in terms of how her body responds to the double vaccine.
Absolutely. And it's a great way as well to embolden confidence in both shots for the people living in Germany. If your chancellor is getting Moderna and AstraZeneca and you're picking which one to go with, or maybe you're worried about one or the other, this might alleviate some of those worries to see leadership take those vaccines. What's interesting as well is the fact that She's mixing the AstraZeneca one with the Moderna one, and that's something the experts have talked about is if the vaccines function in a way that is different from one another, if they have different properties and mechanisms, that's pretty effective. So Moderna, for example, if you mix it with Pfizer, you may not see much of an effect or an improvement over doing one or the other because they function similarly. But Moderna and AstraZeneca have different mechanisms. And so the hypothesis experts are going with is you might get enhanced protection from mixing these two as well. So pretty interesting. And Merkel has been pretty vocal about taking the vaccines. And in fact, back in April, showed a photo of a vaccine certificate to show that she had received the injection.
Yeah, and so there's going to be a lot of people here in the United Arab Emirates who will be taking the Pfizer vaccine in addition to the Sinopharm that they might have taken in the beginning few months, such as in January. So this basically helps against, helps your body fight against the new variants, which is good, and it gives your body a bit more of an immune response. So always ideal for sure. But looking at the bigger picture here, in terms of what's going on, it's very, very important to get yourself vaccinated and take part in this national vaccination program here in the United Arab Emirates for sure. And we have lots more clinics being available for those vaccines. And one point to be noted is that yes, Pfizer does come with some side effects, so do talk to people beforehand, prepare yourself mentally, don't be too terrified of it, because yes, Sinopharm being a traditional vaccine, you might not see that many side effects, but with Pfizer, a lot of people that I've spoken to have had it for at least one day, so be mindful of that. And the other thing is to do your research as well in terms of which vaccine should be suiting for you and whether do you need it, and whichever country you hail from and originate from, it's very important to take the vaccine of that country as well.
Yeah, definitely, Abdul Karim. So many factors involved here as well, and we're also awaiting the results of large trials into the prospect of mixing vaccines, but for so many different reasons, it seems like more and more viable option here, especially with some countries facing shortages in their vaccine supplies, now mulling the mixing of vaccines or offering different shots as well. And the hope is that this would give people a broader, longer-lasting immunity against the pandemic virus and its new variants, and also provide more flexibility and make the vaccine rollout wherever we are a lot easier. So, for example, in Canada, in Ontario, and Quebec, they said they plan to mix vaccines in the near future, especially given uncertainties over AstraZeneca shipments. Germany is also mixing vaccines as well. So it seems like something that countries are heading in now, and studies being underway for that as well.
It's terrifying, isn't it? Especially when you hear about the Delta variant, the India variant, the UK variant, and whether your vaccine is going to be responsive towards those variants. Just a terrifying sight, to be honest. It's just something that it makes people feel very uncertain. So it's best to speak to your doctor and have a word with them. Gets your nerves calmed and eased as well before proceeding with your vaccine. In Germany, they had recommended that under 60s who had already received the first dose of the AstraZeneca should have a different coronavirus vaccine for the booster jab for safety reasons as a precaution, and that was following reports of blood clots in a small number of young people who had the AstraZeneca vaccine. So just confused a lot of people, really. But let's see what happens and what comes up in the near future. I'm sure there'll be more clarity as more research and studies are conducted on the efficacy of mixing those vaccines. But so far, Angela Merkel will remain our guinea pig to see how things fare after she took Moderna as the second jab of her vaccine.
That's right, and we'll keep an eye on this story for sure as the trials are underway and the way people get their vaccines around the world continues to evolve and progress. Stay tuned to Pulse 95, because up next we'll talk about the wonderful Al Ain being represented among the world's top 3 beautiful routes. It's Jabal Hafid. All of that will be discussed up next here on Pulse 95.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis.
Welcome back onto the Morning Majlis. It is exciting times for the world of Euro 2020. We're into the round of 16 where some dreams were created, some had fallen, and some dreams were broken as well, because yesterday it was Scotland versus Croatia, contrasting win for Croatia, who've now sealed their spot in the next round. Who are they going to play? Well, it's going to be decided later on tonight. And Scotland, when they scored this their equaliser, oh my days, the thrill. That was their first goal in a major tournament in so many years. And you could see the emotions running through the fans, the players themselves. That was a real goosebump moment, to be honest. That would be my highlight for the Euro 2020 when we talk about what's been happening so far. Because let's have a little bit of a rundown. What's happened so far in Euro 2020? It started off with a bit of a freak show with Christian Eriksen collapsing on the pitch. Then we saw Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo removing those wonderful soft drink bottles from the shots of the camera. We had a parachutist who crash landed in Germany's stadium.
Oh, God.
So we've had some interesting off-pitch drama. But for me, what tops the most is that goal yesterday when Scotland equalised against Croatia. The whole nation shook. Literally, that was such an important goal. But sadly, Scotland are knocked out. This means the round of 16 is fairly open. Portugal takes on France tonight. Germany takes on Hungary. Germany looks like a team that is going to go through. So far, and we are also seeing what to expect from the encounters coming up. Portugal has been in this territory before where they're still thinking that they might go through as the top three, one of the top third place teams, the top four third place teams in the group stages, and they went on to win it in 2016. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few games, because France looks like they're just having a party, really.
They are indeed. And one team that's not having as much of a party is England. I got to catch the game they had with the Czech Republic. Yes, they did find a way to win Group D, but there's something about that team. It just comes across as very conservative. And some analysts have pretty much noted this as well. They're very pragmatic, not going all in, and exploiting the full attacking potential of their team as well. So they're saying if they're going to win the Euro, they better step it up and be a little more aggressive with the goal scoring and unleash that potential of a very, very talented squad. So a lot of questions about England's prospects for the Euro 2020 moving so far, but interesting team regardless.
Interesting team regardless, and I think this is the first time that England has a very, very strong lineup, and they look like they can do really well. And look, the last time England had a very, very strong lineup was in 2010 FIFA World Cup, and the stars that they had, sadly, they missed out against Germany, was in the quarterfinals. But this time round, they're going to probably face Germany or the other teams is in Group F, so we don't know. We still have to wait till the final standings later today. Let's see what happens in this next encounter. But it definitely is gearing up for a fantastic game, a fantastic start to the Euros, because the round of 16 will kick off with Denmark against Wales. Both the teams carrying so much hope of their countries, and they'll hopefully look for a bit of a breakthrough. And Italy and Austria on Saturday. So from after today is going to be the round of 16 will start, and come on, we're into the final bit, and this is going to get nervous. This is going to be interesting. I love the knockout stages because even if there's a draw, you're going to get a result, because it's going to be going into penalties. There is no chilling and sitting back and say, oh, it's all over. No, it's time to head on and take things as well forward. But thank you all for tuning in. Let us know in the text lines 4215 who you are backing for this Euro 2020. And we'll be back again tomorrow morning with more updates from that encounter.
We certainly will. So stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. And if you missed any of our discussions here on the Majlis, be sure to head over to our podcast pages at Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcast. Just type Morning Majlis in the search bar. And also check us out on the YouTube at Pulse 95 Radio. Thank you all. Have a good day. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.